2, we are opening this public meeting to discuss utility easements for Pinecreek Bridge and to have updates, LTAC and
On our LTAC projects.
on the LTAC projects. All right, so I'm going to turn it over to Jessica. Take it away.
Okay. So we thought it would be a good time to have Amanda Lamont from LTAC come in. You guys haven't had a chance to meet her. The majority of our projects, we are working with LTAC. They're administering, the projects. And so we figured it was a good time. We're in far enough to some of the projects. We've got some other ones that are coming up, such as the Moon Pass tunnels, that it would be a good time to, make an introduction. And that way, if you guys had any questions or needed any clarification on anything, we have GE Sigford from HMH. HMH is the consultant team on several of our bridges. So GE has been on the design team for several of our bridges. And so the Pinecreek Bridge, we had a little speed bump with the utility easement that, we wanted to talk to you about and inform you about as well. So that's kind of the gist of, why we wanted to call this meeting today.
Okay.
So I guess we should start with the utility easement. So this one is interesting. We've been back and forth. The Pinehurst Water District has a line that runs along the Pinecreek Bridge. That's the one, the Pinecreek Bridge is the full replacement up there, and it's the one that's in the federal aid bundle.
But which bridge are we talking? First, second, third?
It's the second.
Second
Bridge. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes, from the bottom.
From the bottom.
Mm-hmm. And so that one we came into, depending on how paperwork is situated and records, sometimes the price to move the utilities falls on the utility company, and then sometimes it is brought into the project. And so this one was deemed that the replacement of the or the relocation of their pipe would fall on the utility company, would fall on the Pinehurst Water District. I had raised some questions about that because in 2019 we had a bridge that was in federal aid. It was the next one down, that this cost was absorbed by the project. And with me not being in this seat back in 2019, I'm not sure why it was a project approved cost at that time versus this time it's not. The document that the Pinehurst Water District produced, to LTAC, to the project in 2019, it's listed as an easement, but there is no record of recordings of this. It doesn't look like a traditional easement. And so it's not considered a legal document. Matt, would you like a copy of this one? And so that was, if we are going to approach the Pinehurst Water District, I think one of the first questions, if we're telling them that the cost will be their responsibility, is going to be, why was this allowed in 2019 with this paperwork documentation and it is not allowed now? And so that was something I wanted to bring before the board because that would be a question that might come before you as well.
And I'll kind of jump in there too. I was not the person who administered the last bridge project. I went back and talked to the engineering firm that did it, and there's just not great records about how the determination came that the relocation was at project expense. However, I dug into this knowing, we didn't just want to say no, we wanted to make sure that we're following our policies. And at LTAC, we're governed by a council that's made up of city mayors, county commissioners, and highway district commissioners. So they govern our policies, and we have a policy that is directly for this situation, and it's for inclusion of utility work under a federal aid contract. And the policy states that the utility relocation, and I'm just going to read this 1 2-sentence clause straight from the policy. Utility relocation costs will not be eligible for federal funding on projects where the utility is within the public right-of-way at the permission of the owner. So that falls under this scenario where the Pinehurst Water District is allowed to be within the Shoshone County right-of-way at your permission, but because of that, they're not eligible to be paid for at the federal project expense. That is how our policy reads. However, there are exemptions and there are special cases where, you have utilities that are rural in nature that don't service a lot of homesteads in the area. And so there is a process that you can do where you can claim hardship, and that would be taken to our council to be reviewed and approved on a case-by-case basis. So if that's the situation with Pinehurst Water District, where, they can show through their accounting that they could not afford to do this, then they can petition to our council to allow it to be covered at project cost. So that would be the process that you'd want to follow if you wanted to do something to deviate outside of the policy.
So Pinehurst Water would have to apply for the hardship.
Right, through the county. So I would say that's a conversation with Jessica to say, all right, this is the determination, it's going to be at your expense. And then, if they want to say, well, we just can't afford that for whatever reason, I have not talked to them. If they want us to go down that path, that's something that we're willing to do. It would be at the discretion of our council to make a determination of whether that could be paid for at project cost.
And that would be LTAX council?
LTAX council.
And Jeff, to answer your question, do they know about this? I have not contacted them directly because I wanted to get this sorted out first and just make sure that we were aware of all of our options. And the board was aware before we approached the water district.
Okay.
We did ask if they had anything else.
This was the only document that they were able to produce.
But the county has nothing on file.
Correct.
This is kind of an interesting situation as far as right-of-way goes. It's on BLM property. And we've discovered an easement that covers the bridge itself for construction in that, but I'm not sure if that plays a factor as well.
I think the major determination would be if it's private right-of-way that the utility owns, that's a different story. But anytime they're in public right-of-way, whether that's BLM or county, this policy would apply.
Okay. So it sounds like we need to make a visit with the water district.
That would be my recommendation.
I have no idea. Are we talking thousands of dollars for them to replumb this section after the bridge is repaired? I mean,
GE, you and I had talked briefly about that about a month ago. Were you able to come up with any type of an estimated cost?
I think we could go back to the project that Amanda was talking about in 19, maybe get some ballparks.
Yeah.
We'd have to escalate it for inflation, of course.
Sure. Probably in the ballpark of 15 to 20,000. If
If
I were to
maybe
guess.
even more than that.
Maybe more with inflation and when this goes to construction, but
what do they do with their water while we're building on the bridge?
So that's one of the things that makes it cost a little bit more. We're going to treat this similar to how they did construction, and what they did is they built a bridge right next to the existing bridge, relocated the water line to the temporary bridge, and then removed it, did all the work, provided a sleeve and everything, put the new water line through, and then eliminated.
So we're going to build a temporary bridge on this.
to keep traffic open during construction.
It's fine. Are we going to the left or the right, or the north or the south?
So if you're going towards the town, it would be off to the right.
Okay.
And we have that easement sorted out with the BLM. That was
Right.
something that we had to work out, but that's the plan.
We didn't even have to visit anybody in the wildlife to
Not on that bridge.
make a deal. Okay. All right. So it sounds like we need to approach Pinehurst and let them know of the pending challenge.
Okay,
Okay. That would be something we could take care of together, I suppose.
yes, absolutely.
That's my district.
Okay.
If I could maybe just ask a question so I understand. So let's say that they decide they want to claim hardship. what would be kind of the process, I guess? Is there involvement with the board, or do they come right to LTAC?
I think it would probably come through Jessica to me as the project manager to take it to our council. Our council meets quarterly, but they often have, because we're of course represented across the state, so quarterly we're in our office, but they do have special meetings that they'll call via Zoom or via Teams in addition to that. So I think if there's some items that they need to address, they could do it to address those in addition to those quarterly meetings. But my recommendation would be, knowing that they have to claim hardship, put together a proposal to say we would request not to pay for this relocation, and then give their reasons,
Okay.
and then get that put.
So
sent,
you would
address
address
it.
something like in letter form?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, and I would have that addressed to the LTAC council.
Okay.
And what would be typical reasons? Their budget?
Probably the budget. The times that I've seen it get approved is largely due to it being just a small operation in nature. Where they only service a few homes, and they said this cost would exceed our income, or it's a certain percentage of the income that we make, and would make it not feasible to do the project.
Yeah.
So it would be some kind of hardship that, and so they'd probably have to share some information about their budget and their expenses to show that this would be an undue hardship on them if we were to go forward and have it be paid for by the utility. Most of the time, it's larger utilities and they have a budget, they've got crews, they've got, reserves for this, but we understand because of the nature of our state, and it's not a one size fits all. So that's why we have this process in place.
Okay. Okay, so let's put that on our calendar of something to
Okay.
go and have a meeting with them.
Perfect. And then, any other questions on the easement issue, questions, anything like that?
When's that bridge scheduled to start?
That one is, right now, 26, fiscal year 26.
Okay. So we have a little time.
Mm-hmm. Yep, we do like to get all these details sorted out sooner than later, because something like that just hanging out can hold things up a little bit. So I would want to at least start working on this, as soon as we can.
Right. Seems to be a lot of folks depending on water
Yes,
above that bridge.
yes, absolutely.
So, maybe if I can ask another question, so like the engineering aspect on it, you would expect that the water company would pay for the design and all that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
We will have to make some provisions in the bridge in order to accommodate them. They want to put the steel pipe like they did last time, thread it through, my understanding. So is all of that somehow we have to break out? Because
It's a great question.
Our
If
bridge
the
designer
engineering-
our bridge designer is going to have to take into account that. So.
I mean, they're gonna have to do that anyway. I would say let's do it.
Right.
But I think that's a little bit more gray area. That can probably be paid for at project expense. The engineering that we're already doing on the temporary bridge, the incremental amount to accommodate the design to make sure that the temporary bridge can accommodate that relocate.
That's kind of one of my questions is in this temporary bridge relocation, because we have to write something up for the contractor to provide a temporary bridge. Can we include the water line on that temporary
Yes.
bridge and so forth?
Yes. So I would say the costs that we're asking for from the utility, we're not going to include the engineering to make sure that the temporary bridge can support it. It would primarily just be for the work to actually do it in the field with the contractor.
Okay, I'm just thinking it would be easier for the contractor to do the water line relocation than for the utility company to hire somebody to move the water line to the temporary
Yeah, and that's
bridge.
common. So we'll have a utility agreement. So they'd likely, the water company would pay to the county, and then the county pays the contractor to do the work. But if the utility doesn't pay it, then it would just be as part of the project's cost, and it would be reimbursed just like the rest of the project is.
Okay. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, I've done it a lot of different ways. I want to make sure.
There's many different ways depending on the situation.
Yeah.
Just depends. That's the best answer. Just depends.
Okay.
And then other project updates, we have a ton of projects going through LTAC right now. As far as bridges, I've kept you guys pretty updated on the leading Idaho local bridges. We have 9 total in the system. One of those is for, more research and analysis. The other 8 are awarded into the system and are at various phases in design. We do have one that is about 98% complete, Gem Bridge. That's our first one. We got the paving done up there last week, and we're just waiting on a little bit of cement work to secure the adit line that runs along the side of the bridge. And then that bridge will be 100% complete. So that'll be our very first one that we're able to finish. The other bridges that you guys have been signing some paperwork on are looking to start next spring and move from there. GE has one down on Potlatch Road, Elk Creek Trestle, that he's in the design phase on. We have been working through some right-of-way issues that I think we have ironed out, or most of the way ironed out at this point. And so we're in good shape for that bridge. Not yet. So, but I think moving forward, we're in pretty good shape for that one. The one on Silver Valley Road, Moon Creek, down there, so it carries Silver Valley Road right at the mouth there. That one is all designed, and contractor's been selected for that one. The one going up to the golf course on Country Club there, that one is all designed and has been put out for contract. So those 2 are definitely going in next year. And then we have several that are in the early phases of design, and Silver Bridge is our big bridge. That one is well into the design phase. We're in great shape with that. We have meetings every 2 weeks on that one. And then we have started the beginning of the design process for 2 Mile Bridge. So so far we're in pretty good shape on those. And then we have the bundle in federal aid, the 2 that are ours, the West Fork Pinecreek, which is the rehabilitation, and then we have the Pinecreek Bridge, which is the complete replacement. And then the 3rd in that bundle is in our bundle, but it's not our bridge. It's the city of Pinehurst, their Main Street Bridge. So that one is supposed to go into construction in 24. That one's coming up this next year. So, and then our rehabilitation for West Fork is on the schedule right now for 2025, and then the replacement for Pinecreek Bridge is 2026. Unless things change a little bit. There's always room for movement when we're at this point. So
Yeah, that's the other reason to get the utility agreement sorted out, because if we get it done and we call it on the shelf, if it's ready to go, and you just never know how the funding situation is at the end of the year. Idaho's a state where we spend all of our federal funds every year. We spend 100% of the authority that the government gives us. And we like to have a backlog so that if other states don't spend their money, there's a very short window at the end of the fiscal year, about 2 weeks, where states can get in line to take additional funds. And Idaho's been really successful every year of having spent all our money. And so in that case, we say, here's a list of projects that are ready to go. And so we may be able to advance it if it's ready and on the shelf. So that's what we will probably do with our bridges in 25 and 26, knowing that, the sooner the better. And if we can get it built and advertised sooner, we'll do that. But we'll give you that heads up. We'll have a state and local agreement to you that you'll sign, but we won't execute until the funding is there, so that we're just ready to go if the funds are there. So that's the process for that. But yeah, this is quite a lot of federal aid work in one county. I just want to give some kudos to the county for being aggressive and applying for grant funding through us. You have a lot of bridges. There's a large need. We look at, we track all of the inspection reports that come through ITD. ITD does all of the local inspections on bridges for the state system and for the local highway system. So when they send those reports, we also get copied on those and review them. And Shoshone County has a large number. There's a couple counties that take a huge, significant percentage of the bridges across the state on the local system. And so it's important to be aggressive in applying for funds, because the cost to do those on your own is really hard to absorb when you've got so many other competing needs. So I just wanted to give some kudos to the county for going after funds, whether that's low B, 9 bridges getting replaced for free is pretty awesome. And then not only that, but going after our traditional funds. The 3 bridges that we have in the system are through our traditional program, which is really competitive because in the past we'd only get 7 million a year for all the state. So to have 3 go in at once, the last couple of years, the new transportation bills have greatly increased the amount of bridge funding. I think that's a priority from Congress and priority from elected officials across the country, is recognizing that big investment we had in the 50s, those bridges are nearing 75 years old and maybe even longer. So we're seeing another investment in infrastructure, at substantial increases. So that's been great for Idaho because we have a big need. And that's what we've been able to tell our state elected officials. And that's why the governor has developed the Will Be program. We got the 200 million the first year, another 200 million the second year. So now we're at 400 million. And we're working with their aides this year leading into the next session. And we're optimistic that there will be another round of funding. We're not sure how much that's going to be yet, but we still have need. We've been showing that, there was a huge need, and, you may see more bridges in this county get funded if additional funds become available. So that's kind of the situation with funding, but I just want to say the county's been doing a lot, and there's a lot. Here's another one we're kicking off shortly for your Moon Pass tunnels. That one is another free grant, which is the best kind, where you don't have to pay any match. So we're looking to have that, not to steal your thunder, if you want to talk about it.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
We're looking to have that request for proposal advertised on Monday. So we got that approved. The DBE goal, disadvantaged business enterprise, every federal contract has to have that. That was set at 4%, which is pretty low. It's kind of nice and appropriate in this case where we have such specialized work with tunnel improvements. We haven't done a tunnel project in the state of Idaho in many years. So it's a big deal to get that funding through the Western Federal Lands Grant. And again, it's even better that it's no match. So we'll be looking to hire an engineering consultant on that, starting the process on Monday when that gets advertised. And we've been hearing from quite a few. I know Jess has been visited by several consultants interested. I wouldn't be surprised if we see some more national firms that have a lot of tunnel experience, given that this is a highly unique type of project, and we're probably going to be looking for someone that's got a decent amount of experience in this specific kind of work. So,
and can you explain to them just a little bit, since they haven't been here when this has happened, how the selection process takes place?
So we are cognizant that this is a county project. The federal funds come through LTAC. We are here as an advisory role. So when we get proposals, it's advertised by ITD. It's open. This type of process is open to anyone in the country. Anyone can put in, and we have a set list of questions that they have to respond to and show their technical ability. Who's on their team, what their past experience is, what's their quality control process. So we ask them a lot of questions and we give them a page limit. And then it'll advertise for 3 to 4 weeks. And once those proposals come in, we'll need a selection committee of 5. Normally it's 5 people, 2 from LTAC and 3 from the local agency. We ask for no more than 1 elected position, just knowing that there's turnover. So we'll probably be looking for one of the 3 of you to score those proposals, and along with 2 other county staff. So there'll be 3 from the county and 2 from LTAC. And we always do that to make sure that there's no opinion or thoughts that we are selecting consultants. We know it's your project. We'll advise. Because this project is so unique, we have also asked Federal Highways to participate as they will not score it. They will act in an advisory role in the discussion at the end. Ed Miltner with Federal Highways in our Idaho office was very instrumental in helping getting the funding for this project. He wrote the scope of work. He's a bridge specialist and tunnel specialist. So he'll sit on the panel and he'll review the proposals, but won't submit any scores as far as consultant selection. But that process takes, once the proposals come in, it goes to ITD to review to make sure that they have all the requirements, that the DVE goals are right, that it meets the criteria, and then they'll send it to the scoring committee. We have about 2 weeks to score all of the proposals. Then we come together, ITD will put all the scores that are done independently and put it together in a matrix to see who scores the highest. And then we'll get together as a scoring team to say, does everyone agree with this? Because you are allowed to change your score at that point, depending on conversations with the scoring team. So once that process is done, then we'll notify the consultant that gets selected, and then we work with them to start working on a scope of work and a fee for the work.
It's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work. It's a very objective process to try to make sure that it's independent, that it's objective, that it's fair, that it's non-biased, and that we get a consultant that's technically capable to handle the work.
Wow, thank you.
Maybe more than you wanted to know, but there you go.
Sound like you've done this before.
So many times.
We're lucky to have
You're in good
Jess going
hands.
out there doing the work
Yes.
she's been able to get for
She's-
us.
And Jim before her, Jim and Jessica were pretty dynamic together, and now having her step in, I can't believe it's only been a year. I was just telling her this morning, I'm shocked it's only been a year. She's done very well. And I work with counties of all sizes, highway districts of all sizes, and you're in very good hands. Thank you for that.
Appreciate it.
So I know we've covered a lot of projects. Do any of you have any questions on any of the projects that we talked about?
I'm just wondering.
Okay.
I don't.
No?
GE, anything that you feel like we didn't cover that you'd like to add, or?
No, we just need to work through that utility.
Yes. Okay, and we'll get going on that. This is kind of what we were waiting for, so we'll
Right.
start pushing forward on that. Anything else?
Do we
The only thing I would say, would you like to speak first?
No, I was just gonna say
Okay.
on that, do we need to include GE in our meeting with the water districts?
I think that would be
Yes,
helpful if we
usually
could.
work
Mhm.
through it together, and
Yes.
so it would be best to have you.
So we're not, end up backtracking because we missed something.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. The only remaining thing that is heavy on the county is coordinating the right-of-way acquisition for the West Fork Pinecreek Bridge.
Yes.
So we have a
We-
meeting set up
Oh, do you?
with
Okay,
Ben on November 2nd.
okay, great.
I'm hoping you're gonna be able to attend it. I apologize, I just got in the country last night late, so I'm
Yes.
kind of catching up.
Yeah, the hope is that we'll get that right-of-way
That's what I
donated.
read today in the email.
Yeah.
Yes. So far, I think really at this point, all that's left is the paperwork.
Okay.
We've been given all the verbal permissions at this point. Now it's just a matter of getting it on paper.
Step one is done.
Yes.
That's great.
So what we're thinking is we get all the easements. I have the example donation letter and that kind of stuff. Nothing sure that with Ben, which I already have, but then he can maybe take it, Jessica Ben can take it over and
Great.
get it executed, is what we're hoping.
Anything else? Questions from the public? No. Okay. Well, I want to thank you guys for taking the time to help us out with
Yeah,
understanding
nice
this.
to meet you.
Appreciate all the help we're getting from LTAC. And I thank you, Jessica, for all the coordination. All right. All right. With that, we are adjourned.